I'm never quite certain what I'm being invited to believe when anybody asks me a question like that. I'm not even quite certain what I'm being invited to disbelieve when it comes to that.
I'm quite with you, old chap.
No, well, I mean, you ask me, do I believe in, say, Australia? Well, now I know perfectly well what sort of thing I'm being asked to judge. I mean, we all agree what we mean by Australia. And given that, one can perfectly well imagine the sort of procedure that one might put in hand to confirm or, on the other hand, to disconfirm its existence. It's not quite the same thing with ghosts, is it?
Do you believe in ghosts, Professor?
Ghosts? That's rather a sticky one, isn't it? I'm not quite certain what you mean.
Have you ever experienced something so strange that it changed your belief? Well, I had one recently which was actually caught on camera during one of my yoga classes, one that I've made on this channel, and I'll play it at the end of the video and you can make of it what you will. So in this week's video, I'm going to be talking about spirits, spirituality, and a few creepy paranormal experiences that changed the way I viewed my practice. I recently took a trip to a friend's farm up in the Karoo, and on our way up there we were reminded of a ghost story that happened at the house. And just for context, this farm is pretty old and really beautiful, and there's a graveyard near the main house, which is home to about 6 graves, all of whom died in the same year, around the 1800s. One of the evenings, 2 of my friends were sleeping in the old master bedroom. His partner then was suddenly woken up by sounds of gasping. She pulled him out of his dream, and then he explained he had this terrible nightmare of this old woman who was choking him. And later the next morning he shared the story with us, and that's when we heard my father's friend's story from the farm, which happened a few years earlier. And that story goes, my friend's father was spending an evening alone on the farm, which wasn't unusual, and he was suddenly woken up in the middle of the night by a nightmare of an old woman who was also strangling him in his sleep. I was told it felt so disturbingly real that he woke up thinking that someone was in the house. So he got up to double check if anyone was there, and then heard something strange in the bathroom. And upon further investigation, he found nothing. But as he was returning to his bed, he felt a sudden drop in temperature and saw something at the corner of his eye. He quickly turned to look through the wooden shutters of the bathroom window, and there he saw an old woman standing outside. A ghostly figure, hauntingly faint apparently, but clearly the woman from his dreams. And before he could clear his eyes, she was gone. Now, one could claim that spiritual beliefs and paranormal experiences are just mere illusions, and messages from the dead or apparitions are nothing more than just a glitch in one's brain. However, I did find myself asking the question if believing in mysterious occurrences can lead to a more fulfilling spiritual life. For many, spirituality and faith directly coincide with their belief in the paranormal, and you often find mediums who deliver messages from the dead to the living, tarot readings and spiritual healers kind of used this connection with the spirituality to conduct these readings. And I'm interested to hear your take on this. Have you ever had any strange, ghostly experiences? And what does it mean to be spiritual? Well, in my opinion, spirituality is being aware of spirit or a higher energy. And from this, you can then seek a balance in life. And I believe that spirituality is based in the thoughtless, which is the space between thoughts. That's what I keep harping on about in my classes. And religion is based in thought, from text. Spirituality is knowing the truth of who you are and our connectedness with everyone and everything. And I believe that we are energy connected to the universe at large, and by extension, an expression of the universe. Look at it this way. A person who is religious can define themselves as being spiritual, but someone who is spiritual does not have to be religious. And I wasn't really much of a believer until I moved into this house, the one I currently record all my videos in, the one where I'm recording in right now. And you may remember a small fluffy dog I had on my channel. Her name was Puppy, and she was obsessed with food. And it was this really strange series of events with her and some dreams I had, and then this one experience during one of the classes I was recording, which I managed to catch on film, and I'll play it at the end of the video. But I couldn't really explain any of this behavior, and when the event happened in the studio, I knew I needed to address this. Then I consulted a spiritual healer or an energy healer, and she told me that perhaps my teaching in the house was disturbing the energy. And the house is super old, and that kind of made sense to me. So I was instructed to buy some sage and some sea salt and go around and cleanse the space. I had to say these words: whoever or whatever that is not of the highest order of love and light, leave now. Now, I felt as crazy as that sounds, but I went into every room with the sage and said the words, and it was hilariously uneventful, except for the last room, the one I slept in, the one I had this incredibly weird dream in. And as I was saying the words, my body began to light up. My hairs were on end, and I felt a sudden drop in temperature. I managed to sort of squeeze the words out nervously and went in and reclaimed the space, and eventually I felt this sense of stillness. But after that experience, I perhaps thought that there was more to this than I realized. And once the process was complete, I had to then ask the house to show me a sign of whether or not we were cool. So one day I was going around the house collecting a bunch of water bottles, hands full, and I didn't want to take 2 trips up and down the stairs. So I was collecting them, hands full, and I walked downstairs, and as I turned around, I heard this clink and a glass bottle roll across my bedroom floor. And it was weird, and I couldn't explain how it was knocked over or how it was pushed across, but I interpreted that as a sign of a helping hand. I personally am not religious. I believe in the space between thoughts. I allow myself to be guided by that, this universal energy, and as crazy as that may sound, it has provided me with some peace. And I believe that life is a harmonious exchange of energy, and the more you are aware of it, the more you can move with it. There is an undeniable flow in life, and we can choose to either fight it or flow with it, and that's the beauty of yoga. The practice of yoga has taught me to, and continues to teach me, to surrender to it. And just before you go, I'd like to tell you that the frame that you're about to see was firmly fixed to the wall with a hook. And afterwards I double checked, and the hook was still there, which means that something or someone lifted it up and over the hook. So perhaps you may want to consider cleansing your place of practice. Yoga is there to prepare you to sit more comfortably. Bring your hands to prayer generously between your palms. Place that warmth over your eyes. Oh. House.